Hello and welcome to the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show. I'm Ginny Robertson, the host of the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show, where I talk with real women who are living their lives on purpose and bringing their unique gifts to the planet. I'm also the founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine and founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community. Today, I'm talking with intuitive counselor and Reiki master teacher Mia Zachary about fractured mirrors, the many roles women play. You can learn more about Mia and her services at mialenazachary.com, and that link is in the text of this video. Welcome, Mia. Thank you for being with me.
Great morning, Ginny, and thank you for having me. It's always nice to start the day with conversation with a friend.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And that's what these are. These are just conversations with friends where we get to share and inspire and somebody's going to hear something today that they needed to hear. So we're talking about fractured mirrors, and I don't know what you mean by that. So what do you mean by fractured mirrors?
Well, like most women, there's probably there's a mirror over the sink in the bathroom. Maybe there's a mirror over your dresser in your bedroom, or God forbid, a full-length mirror somewhere in your
Or
room,
on our computer right now, we're
or
looking
on
at
your computer
ourselves.
right now. And so, what happens when you stand in front of that mirror? You don't look. You see, but you don't look.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is like, this morning I'm getting ready for this interview and I'm seeing the mirror, but I'm looking at this one weird eyebrow that just is doing whatever it's doing. I'm at a certain age. I'm looking for hair on my chin. I'm looking at this curl that wouldn't do what I wanted it to do. I'm looking at how deep my smile lines are getting and the lines under my eyes. I'm seeing parts of me. I'm seeing my parts. I am not seeing the whole, because let's face it, especially when you're nude, you don't look in the mirror. That's uncomfortable. That can be incredibly just emotional, uncomfortable, awkward even. And so when we're nude in front of the mirror, we tend to feel naked. So we don't look. We don't look. It's almost as if the mirror has cracked, it's fractured, so that you're only seeing little pieces of your face, your body at a time. And the fractured mirror is really a metaphor for how we see ourselves. The reason that I chose that metaphor is because it's easy to understand. Every woman has a mirror somewhere. But the mirror, I have discovered, is actually in our mind. There's a part of our brain, and I'm going to hang on a second. I don't want to get this wrong. There's a part of our brain called the anterior cingulate cortex. Anterior cingulate cortex. It's part of the limbic system, which governs our emotions. And there are neurobiologists who have studied the brain, and there is a difference between a cis male brain and a cis female brain, in that the ACC, that anterior cingulate cortex, the ACC, is actually larger in women. Now, the reason this matters is the ACC governs self-image, self-perception, and because it's tied to the emotions in the brain, it's affected by hormone fluctuations. And because it's larger in women, that is why we tend to be more self-critical. We are more aware of our self-image. We are hyper attuned to our self-image. And so the message that I really want to convey is that your mirror might be fractured, but it's not broken. In other words, there might be cracks and you're looking at different pieces, but it's not on the floor shattered. And every shard of that mirror is you, all of you, in your entirety, the good and the bad. And I'm using air quotes because both of those are a judgment. You just are. You just are. But the most important thing to remember is that there's nobody to compare ourselves to. And even the mirror, that even the sheet of glass that has silvering on the back is not a true impression, a true indication of who we are and how we see ourselves. That has to begin with mindset.
That's fascinating. I've read a lot about the brain, know a lot about the brain over the years, but I've never heard that. Is that some new research, do you know, or has it been around?
I will have to I have the article saved and I will happily share it in the OPW community.
Okay, yeah, I would
Because
love to know more about that.
I think it's a couple years old, but it's not,
But
like
newer, yeah,
yesterday.
not ancient stuff, right? Because it does, I mean, it makes perfect sense. There's probably not a woman watching this, either right now with us or later on YouTube, who isn't going, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because we all have it. We all have it. And so, how does this tie in then with the second part of your topic, which is the many roles women play?
Well, as young girls, as little girls, our mirrors were all external, right? Not just that silvered glass, but our mirrors were our mothers, grandmothers, our aunties, our older siblings, if we had any, our teachers at school, the ladies who went to our church, the other moms in the grocery store. And so as young girls, we spend years, all of those early years trying to figure out who we are based on what we see around us. And so that's where some of the first fracturing begins.
Hmm.
By the time young girls reach, I think it's something like fifth grade, they are already judging themselves. They are already um, feeling that they are inadequate and insufficient and inferior because magazines, television shows, movies, their peer groups are constantly telling them your hair's not right, your smile isn't right, your glasses aren't right, your clothes aren't right, your body's wrong, everything about you is wrong. And so that's the first shattering. And that's in a healthy household growing up, which mine most certainly was not. So my mirror was a woman who was the only child, went to Morgan State University in Baltimore, first child in her entire family to go to college, got her master's degree in psychology, and should have been on an incredible trajectory to be whatever she wanted. Unfortunately, she chose a man who was insecure in his masculinity enough to constantly tear her down and beat her down, not just verbally, psychologically, but often physically. And that is the mirror that I saw. And I'm ashamed, mom and I worked through it before she passed, but I am ashamed to say that because of what I saw, I treated her accordingly.
Mm.
Why should I respect her? Daddy doesn't.
Yeah.
That led me to my own continuous fractures with poor relationship choices, choosing boys and then men who were just like my father, who put me down, belittled me, acted as if I was nothing except my only purpose was to serve his interests, his needs. And so, really, this is even more on my heart today than any other day this year for two reasons. Number one, we saw a beautiful mirror in the presidential debates last night that were televised. I'm not going to get into political affiliations. I don't need to. I simply am. All right, I'm excited. I am. I am. I have just been so emotional yesterday because my day actually started very differently than it ended. My day started with doing my job, and I had something to deliver to a particular cell phone store in Charlottesville. And I walked in with my big smile, and I walked up to the counter, and the guy that was in, and I was aware that there was a woman sitting there, but they weren't talking. So I address him, I say what I have, and I heard her ask me a question. So I turn, and the smile froze on my face and dropped, because the woman sitting in front of me was wearing nothing but a thin bathrobe and bruises.
In a
I
store?
don't know. Yes, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know how the goddess called me yesterday, because I wasn't supposed to be at that store. I was actually supposed to be somewhere else, but I felt an impulse. I'm going to walk over to T-Mobile. She had just escaped an abusive marriage.
Mm.
While he was in the shower, she threw on the first thing she could reach for, grabbed her keys and her wallet, and she fled. Now, of course, there's the what was she doing there instead of at the police station? Well, he had smashed both of her cell phones along with her face, and she needed to buy a new phone so that she could call her family and try to get home to North Carolina. So I did what I could for her in the moment. This isn't about me. Um, but in a lot of ways it is. That experience triggered me so badly. It triggered me so badly for all of the times that somebody should have stood up for my mom. Somebody should have offered her a hand. Somebody should have offered her a shoulder to cry on and understood, rather than blaming her. Well, what did you do to make him angry?
Right.
And I think about Heather and how, I mean, she's physically fractured. Her mirror is physically fractured. She can't look at herself without seeing the evidence of the brokenness that has been thrust upon her. She didn't come into this world broken. None of us did. We came in beautiful, innocent, pure, amazing, amazing women. But as I know from growing up, you never know what's going on behind the closed doors of somebody else's house. So, like I said, I did what I could. And I have an ask for anybody who's watching this. I have a sincere request for anyone who's watching this. Please do some research. Please find the numbers, the emergency numbers in your town. Find the number for the nearest women's shelter. Find the number for domestic violence hotlines. Find the number for the police station and the addresses. The addresses for the police stations are very important for you to have. Find, if you have one, the magistrate, the night court, whoever is in charge of restraining orders, protective orders. Have that information in your phone. I was really blessed yesterday that I was able to call two girlfriends and go, I need a shelter. What have you got? Who do you know? And Shannon and Leslie dropped everything. And we were able to provide Heather with, literally, I just scribbled number after number after number on a sheet of paper. But I'm committed to now keeping those on my phone, because you don't know what you're going to walk into. I had no idea that that's what I was going to walk into today. And so fast forwarding to the other side of the mirror, to a different mirror, to a brighter mirror. What I carried with me into last night at 9 p.m. on C-SPAN, because I didn't want to hear all the commentary, the image that's going to stay with me is this woman walking barefoot over a hot sidewalk to her car that she's going to have to sleep in tonight until she can get to a shelter and be with her family again. We are fractured as a society, as a global population. We are fractured. There are countries right now where it is a crime for a woman to raise her voice and sing in public. It is a crime for her to show her hair. It is a crime for her to walk down the street by herself. This is not what was intended. Whatever your faith beliefs are, whoever you pray to, we were made in the image of our Creator, and that is both male and female, and those two-souled people, those two-spirited people in between. And so it was incredible, inspiring, and healing to see Vice President Harris on that debate stage last night. And I'm going to call her a witch very deliberately, because she was a woman in total control of herself and that debate. And I think it was crystal clear which one of the candidates is prepared to step into a different kind of leadership, an inclusive leadership, a compassionate leadership, a leadership where we make the table bigger if there aren't enough seats for everybody at it. And don't get me wrong, I love my angel. I love my son. He's my only child. We weren't able to have any more. But right now, today, I wish I had a daughter. And I deeply, truly wish my mother was here with me still, embodied. She's with me, but I wish she was still embodied to see this historic moment. Harris is not the first female candidate. Shirley Chisholm was the first. Hillary Clinton was the second. Technically, we've also had 2 other vice presidential candidates, but she will be the first one, because the women who came before her put cracks in that mirror, so that every little girl in this country and around the world, little girls in Africa, little girls in India, most specifically because of who Harris is, can see themselves as something that they might have never dreamed of.
Yeah.
And I wish with all my heart that my mother was here to see herself in this particular mirror. Psychology degree in hand.
Yeah. You're doing a beautiful job, Mia, breaking the cycle, repairing your mirror, if you want to call it that, putting it back together again. Or yeah, you're doing your work, and you're making your place, and you're opening this idea up to other women, and your heart is so huge and you care so deeply that your mother is going, oh wow, how did she get here? And so your mother influenced you. And I know growing up, I used to say that I'm who I am either because of or in spite of my parents. Like, well, they instilled this in me, or I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that person. But wherever we are right now, somebody back there had a say in it. And it could be that we were like rejecting something that was for our greater good. That still means they were there for us in a way, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. And the interesting thing is, if you're a member of OPW, you might have seen a post that I did, or been on a meeting with me. And I've been talking about my Ro7es Tarot deck, and I've been working on this for 2 years and 2 months. This is September, so it's 2 years and 2 months today. And it literally was not until yesterday that I understood why I was creating it. I thought I was just creating a tool that women could use, when you need some encouragement, when you have a question, you can intuitively, pick a card and read what it says. But it really wasn't until yesterday that I really understood, looking at Heather. I want to put the mirrors back together. I want to fix the fractures. I want a woman I want me. I want me. I want to be able, that's the truth. I made this deck for me. I made this deck for me. Other women just get the benefit of my 2 years of work. I want to look in the mirror and go, hey, Mia, you're beautiful. You're doing a great job. I'm so proud of you. Yeah, you know what? You really were a bitch yesterday, but did you need to be? Yes, you did. Hey, Mia, you know what? I love that you're a caregiver, but maybe you could give some care to yourself. Hey, Mia, I know that the critic is one of your shadows, but maybe you could dial that down a little bit. Maybe you could find a way to talk to your anterior cingulate cortex and go, do we really need to be that mean? No, no, we don't. So what this deck is, and I don't know how well you can see that on camera,
That's
but
good. Looks good. Yeah.
the funny thing is, Ginny, I don't know if you remember when I showed this in the meeting the first time, you're like, is that a vagina? And I'm like, well, no, but now that you mention it, I am so glad I chose this particular shape. It's a
It
mirror.
was a little blurrier then than it is now.
Yeah, this is actually a mirror. So it's a a mirror hanging on the wall, but what you see through it, through a glass darkly,
Hmm.
is a picture I took off my back deck of the full moon through the trees in wintertime. Because the whole point of this deck is to come to the mirror, do what Louise Hay invented called mirror work, which is where we look, not just see our parts, but we look at ourselves as a whole in the mirror and we find a way to say kind things to ourselves, which is why the front of the card looks like that. So all of the cards in this deck, I'm using roses as opposed to any very specific artwork. And the reason for that is it's not my place to tell you what you see in your mirror.
Hmm.
It's for you to discover on your own. But I think that roses are just a beautiful metaphor for how we start off as little buds, looking at the other flowers around us and trying to figure out what are we supposed to look like ourselves and how we start to bloom. Sometimes we get aphids, sometimes we get, rose mold, sometimes we've got dry rot in our roots, just to take this horticultural metaphor to its full extent. But at the end of the day, I created this because I'm over 50 and I have no more F's to give. So I am stepping into my full bloom. And that is my hope for every woman that uses this deck. Whether she uses it just for the encouragement or to really do a deep dive into the shadow work and to start repairing those fractures. Now, it's really hard to repair a mirror, but it can be done. But what you have to do is you have to melt that glass. You have to let it go molten and gooey. You have to turn yourself into a puddle, a hot mess of a puddle, in order for that glass to fuse back together again without those fractures showing. And so that's really my intention behind this deck and behind the offering. The Pink Corsage, so the deck itself will ultimately be 55 cards. Because 55 was just a magical age. I mean, turning 50 was pretty cool, but 55 was like, yeah, I got this. I got this. This is my speed limit. Let's go.
So you're heading
uh,
to the wise 60s then. You're the,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. So there are two things that I'm offering right now to help anyone who chooses to begin that journey. The first is called the Pink Corsage. And so this is the Seven Roses Garden Tarot. So the Pink Corsage is just, and of course I don't have them handy to like fan them out in a really dramatic way, but the Pink Corsage is the 5 pink roses that are in this deck. They represent 5 states of being, not stages of development. We're used to hearing maiden, mother, crone. but that's really based on a more patriarchal view. When you're a maiden, you're young and sexy, and I desire you. But once you become a mother, your only function is to take care of the offspring that I implanted in you. And then when you become a crone, well, you're dried up and useless. I reject that. I reject that. I reject that. We are so much more, so much greater. And the complexity that is a cis woman or a transgender female is that we are all of it. We're not this and then that and then this other thing. So within the Seven Roses Garden, these are states of being. So right now, I'm in my maven state. I am in my expertise. I am in my passion. I am in my teaching mode. But I can very easily switch into my mentor, my minister, my hand holder, my counselor. I can go full on matriarch, standing in my power, my wisdom, and my experience. Or I can drop all the way back down to maiden and just be silly and goofy and carefree. And the great thing about women, the great thing, that's our superpower. That is our superpower, not a hindrance in any way. Oh, women are so emotional. Yeah, tell that to Vice President Harris standing on that stage last night, and you watch clips of that, and you tell me which one of them was emotional. Thank you very much. So I'm offering this pink corsage because within the Seven Roses Garden, the pink garden is the garden of self-respect, and I really think that's where a lot of us need to start, because we have been fractured, we have been broken, we have been shattered, we have been beaten down and shown a distorted, not even a funhouse mirror, but just a nightmare in some cases, vision and version of who we want to be, who we intend to be, who we're capable of becoming. No matter what age you are, you still have a lot of life left in you. And that life, if it's not quite what you want it to be, begins with respecting yourself, all of yourself, your shadows and your light. So I'll put the link for the pink corsage into the chat. And then the second thing that I want to, brand new, making you aware today, next Wednesday will be my first Any Day Oracle Gallery. Now, what's a gallery? A gallery is, rather than Ginny and I doing a private one-on-one oracle card reading, this is a group dynamic where anybody can come. And because even if I'm talking to Ginny specifically, answering a question for her, the answer is always for all of us. Mm-hmm. The answer is always for all of us, including myself. And so that's the point of this open gallery. And I call it the Any Day Oracle because in antiquity, the oracles of Delphi, for example, the Sibyls, the, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the words, but the Oracle of Delphi, she was only available one day a month, the seventh Wednesday of the month. And only for 9 months of the year. That's the only time you could ask her questions. Ta-da! I'm available anytime. And that's the whole point of offering this gallery. So if there are things that you're struggling with, questions that you have, an inquiry you want to make, confirmation that you just need to have, that's the purpose of the gallery, is that you can come on any Wednesday and just say, hey, Mia, could you ask Spirit about X, Y, and Z? And I will answer not from myself, but from us. And what I mean by us is there's nothing I do that you can't do. I have trained to be a Reiki master teacher. I have trained to be an intuitive. I have trained to be a card reader. But that innate goddess-given gift of insight was given to every human on the planet, and it is stronger in women. The reason I'm bringing this up is to ask you, to beg you, to trust your gut. When you see a woman in your life or on the street She's not a stranger. She is your sister. She is someone's mother. She is someone's daughter. If your gut tells you that something is not right, if your gut says, walk towards her, follow your instincts, because you don't know how fractured she might be. And your help, even if it's just to make eye contact and smile, or to offer your hand, or to offer to help, might be the exact thing she needs to heal one of those fractures in her mirror.
Mia, I was going to ask you for a final thought. I think that's a beautiful place to close.
I think that's yeah, I don't even,
Yeah.
that was not actually me. I'm feeling super
Yeah.
lightheaded and tingly right now. So that was spirit speaking through.
Thank you.
And
And if
thank
you're watching
you.
this live on the Facebook page, that information about the 5 roses and what you can order from
The
me,
pink corsage.
the corsage, yeah, it's 5 cards of roses, right? Well, you can order from Mia. I'm waiting for mine. It's going to be coming in the mail soon. That information will be put in as soon as we're off, if you're watching, as well as the information about her oracle readings. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, that information is in the text of this video. So it seems like there was something else I wanted to say, but I think, wow, thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
This is beautiful. I love the work. I love how you explained. And, we're just out there. Women continue to be a blessing, specifically to other women, not just to other women, but specifically to other women. Each
Intentionally.
other intentionally. Yes. Have their backs. Get uncomfortable if you have to be.
Get uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I've got a story to tell you when we get off here, Mia. I hope you have time to hear it
I have
because,
time.
yeah, I'm going to write about this at some point. I'm just not understanding why I haven't even thought to write about this. But I'm going to say goodbye now. And I want to thank everyone who's watching the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show. Check out our YouTube channel for informative and inspiring interviews like this one. There are also videos where I chat with the contributing writers of On Purpose Woman magazine, as well as videos of our speakers for the On Purpose Woman Global Community Zoom gatherings. To find out more information about the On Purpose Woman Global Community and magazine, you can go to my website, which is also in the text of this video, opwgc.com. Thanks again for watching.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with me, Mia.
Thank you for creating a community where it's safe for us to speak our minds and our hearts, Ginny.
You're welcome. Thank you.